when you hear this kind of stuff about Batman killing, are you pissed? How does it make you feel?
Honestly, when I hear about the Batman killing or not killing debate, I get more tired of seeing the same debate over and over again, as opposed to actually having much of a feeling, as opposed to having a feeling on Batman killing in it. Because when it comes down to it, in comic book history, yes, there are panels where Batman does kill people. It is an indisputable fact that happens. But I also see the same fucking panels every single time. There's going to be one faction that says, hey, Batman doesn't kill, and then another faction that says, yes, he does. Here are all these different panels that are taken from the 1939 comics, that are taken from some like Elseworld shit, that are taken from like the occasional times where he might have like bent the rules a bit, or something from fucking Injustice is always in there, the Injustice comics. There's always something in that. And it's the same shit over and over again, and they just go back and forth and all in the same arguments, and I'm tired of seeing it. And when it happens in the movies, I think the bigger thing is not necessarily, oh, like Snyder gets ragged on about it, but all the other interpretations are fine. Like, it's less about that and more about the fact that we have more Batman who killed on screen than we do Batman who don't kill on screen. So when you have Batman kill on screen, there's nothing innovative about that. We've seen it. We've seen it multiple times over and over and over again. If anything, it's more innovative to just stick to the fucking comics, or the main lore, I should say, and have him not kill, because that's like different compared to what we've seen. You know, that's, to me, that was the biggest issue, or the main issue that I had with Batman versus Superman, was not really Batman killing, because that's the big criticism, right, of Ben Affleck's Batman. But it was more of like, I'm watching him kill again after we've seen Michael Keaton blow up Axis chemicals and stuff a bomb down a guy's pants. After we've seen Val Kilmer manipulate Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face into falling to his death and not bothering to save him. After we've seen Christian Bale leave Liam Neeson to die and killing Two-Face to save a kid. To be fair, he was to save a kid, but he easily could have used a batarang for that. Or like shooting down Talia and her driver, and it would have just been nice to see something that was different.
You know, for me, and I think for you, it being real kind of isn't enough. Putting Batman in a very real context, maybe that's not the point of Batman. Sure, if you put anybody in a situation where they have to kill, of course, and especially in a very realistic scenario, they're going to kill because they have to, or they die at the end of the comic. To me, that's why it falls flat. There's kind of nothing there. Myths are supposed to help you learn about life, how to live, think deeply about yourself, or other things too, and I don't know, it just sort of falls flat, wouldn't you say?
It does, and I also think people conflate their own ethics with the character. They will say, right, oh, like, in a real scenario, I would kill to protect the ones I love. I would kill in order to save the world, to save the city. I would kill to prevent this maniac, this homicidal maniac like the Joker, from going to Arkham Asylum and breaking out and killing more people. I would do that in order to save all these people. And I'm like, look, I don't even disagree with you. I probably would do the same thing. But I'm not Batman, and neither are you, because this is not really about your own ethics or your own moral code. This is simply about a character. Like, what a character does in a movie is always going to be different from what you would do in real life. The mythology, right? The mythology of this is surrounding certain ideas or certain characteristics of this. And you don't get that if you just start applying your own or dictating your own ethics onto these characters. Then they don't really turn into characters anymore. They just become your proxies. And also, if we're to make this about the Batman character specifically, okay, if he's a character who kills, what other characteristics make him different from John Wick, John McClane, Neo, the Terminator, like all these other action heroes that we've seen kill before? Like, don't we want something that makes it a little different? Don't we want a character who is his own thing? as opposed to having something in common with every other action hero out there.
I think that also people bring up so much that Batman is someone that plans a lot. Mm-hmm. And whenever he's backed up into a corner where he has to kill, it's kind of a detriment to that character trait that he just didn't plan well for that situation. Part of the planning process, in my mind, is he's making all kinds of contingency plans so that he can avoid killing as much as possible. You know, you would have to, part of the strategy is the pre-planning to not get in that position.
Even if Batman does get into that position, we've seen that. It's the ending of Under the Red Hood. The third act, probably the best third act of any Batman movie, is in Under the Red Hood. Character driven. It's not about the city being under attack. It's Batman's own moral code under attack, where Jason Todd gives him the choice where he has to kill. Either he kills Jason Todd or he allows Jason Todd to kill the Joker. And what does Batman do in that? He finds a third way. Isn't that more interesting than just picking one or the other? He finds a third way in Under the Red Hood in a way that he never really does in any of the movies. He's never really been given that type of choice in the third act of any of the live action ones. And yet Under the Red Hood, I think, is the best example of what do you do when you put this character in the situation. And it makes it more interesting, dramatically, than just picking one of the choices when a character is able to pick a third choice.
So we've outlined our position on this. However, do you think there's room in the Batman fan base for two factions to exist?
I think the two factions already exist.
Right.
Fight all the fucking time, but they already exist. And they exist to a point where I'm getting annoyed by it. It's existing to the point where I'm just tired of seeing the same shit over and over again. But they do exist, and I think that's never really going to change. People are going to keep pointing to the same comic panels and interpreting the same comic panels or bringing up those comic panels. And I think something that nobody really brings up is the fact that in 85 years of comic history, you're going to have discrepancies in characterization. It's just going to happen. You're going to see stuff. Just because it's been in the comics doesn't necessarily mean that it's just because it's been in the comics doesn't mean that it's the right way to go or the best way to go with these characters, as we've seen.
So what would you like to see in Batman movies and TV going forward?
I'd love to see it where the scenario comes up that Snyder described, where Batman is put in a situation where he has to kill, as something that's like a big dramatic point in the third act of the movie. And just like in Under the Red Hood, he finds another way. I think that is dramatically sound. It's a great way to address the character's morals and his moral dilemma. It's extremely dramatic. It's more interesting than seeing Batman once again in a Batwing shooting machine guns at henchmen. To me, that is a great dramatic dilemma for a third act, and it's never really been in the third act of any of these movies. At the end of the day, though, we are still fans of interpretations of Batman who have killed. Obviously, we're very big on the Michael Keaton Batman. We've talked a lot about the Christian Bale Batman. We've talked a lot about the Ben Affleck Batman. And I think that's because of the fact that what a lot of people miss in this debate is that there is so much more to this character than the no-kill rule. A lot of people criticize Ben Affleck's Batman, and with the number one criticism being, oh, he killed people. And I'm like, yeah, but you're overlooking so much. We're overlooking the fact that he's the most comic accurate looking of all the Bruce Wayne actors, both as Bruce Wayne and as Batman. We're overlooking how much more compassionate his Batman is in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, and in The Flash, in the scene where he's Bruce Wayne, not the bridge scene, because that was god-awful. And I think that a lot of people overlook that because they make it all about whether he kills or doesn't kill. I can see how we might have contributed a little bit to that, because we did have a whole episode on which Batman killed and which one didn't. But at the end of the day, there's so much more to this character. We still have somebody who rose up from trauma. We still have somebody who decided to take his pain and turn it into something positive. We still have him fighting for what's right and saving innocent people. And yeah, some of them crossed the line, but that doesn't mean that all of them were bad Batman. It just means that they killed. And it doesn't have to mean that all of them were shitty or the ones who didn't kill were great. It just means that it's a characteristic that the movies added. And we just wish that they stopped adding it.
Thank you.